Imagine a world where data isn't just a cold, dead collection of numbers. Instead, it's a living, breathing landscape. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're embarking on a pretty incredible cinematic journey through Ravindra Nayak's The Dashboard Diaries. But listen, let me be super clear right up front. This is not a software tutorial. We are not going to sit here and click buttons. This is really a deep philosophical story about how we humans take totally chaotic information and transform it into trustworthy decisions. It's kind of like looking at the architecture of our own judgment. So let's dive right in.
Our story actually doesn't begin with a beautiful, polished chart. It begins with chaos. Picture this. It's late at night. You open your laptop, and you are immediately hit with that visceral anxiety, what the book calls the spreadsheet storm. To explore this, we're going to follow a character named Arya. She's a curious beginner, and honestly, she represents all of us when we're completely overwhelmed by information. Right now, she's just staring at thousands of broken rows, totally mismatched dates, weird totals, and those awful file names we all know too well. Sales _final_final_ really final. It is literal panic.
And then, the paralyzing question drops. Can you explain what all this means by tomorrow? We've all been there, right? Arya is just completely frozen. But this is where her mentor steps in with a really groundbreaking truth. The mentor gently explains that most people think dashboards start with charts or expensive software. But they really don't. They begin much earlier. They begin with a profound question and with the absolutely crucial skill of learning how to actually trust information. Which brings us to Act 1, the roots of understanding. Before we can build some shiny dashboard to help people make decisions, we really have to slow down. We have to look at the ground beneath our feet and ask, does this raw data actually deserve to be trusted? Because you definitely cannot build a clear city on a broken foundation. To explain this, the mentor uses this brilliant physical metaphor. Imagine you are standing in a massive ancient library. The fact tables, your raw numbers, are the historical events. The columns are the specific memories of those events. But memories are completely useless if they're disconnected, right? So what are relationships? They are literally the physical bridges connecting these isolated islands of data, letting the truth travel across the room. So Arya asks a fantastic question here. Why isn't just a simple number enough? Why do we need all these complex formulas? Well, the mentor explains that formulas, like DAX, are simply the language of questions, and those questions rely completely on context. Think of context as the invisible atmosphere in that library room. A standalone number means absolutely nothing until you understand the atmosphere around it, the specific time, the place, the active filters. That's the whole shebang.
So the big takeaway of this first act is a fundamental transformation. We always start with a technical object. That's your messy dataset, full of missing values and duplicates. It's basically just an artifact eating up your hard drive space. But it has to be transformed into an evidential object. This means data that's been cleaned, structured, and rigorously questioned until it finally reveals the truth. The core lesson? Data has to transition from a mere technical object into a trusted evidential object before you ever dare to visualize it.
Moving right along to Act 2, training the eyes. Okay, so now our roots are strong. We step up the staircase and move from the hidden logic of data into the very visible world of human attention. How do we take that trusted truth and actually get people to see it? The mentor shares this profound realization with Arya. A dashboard is not a museum of charts. It is a decision support surface. And wow, that completely changes the game, doesn't it? The goal isn't to hang up every piece of data you have on a wall just to prove how hard you worked. The goal is to build a cockpit. It needs to safely and clearly guide a human being through the fog of information so they can make a specific choice. To build this cockpit, Arya realizes she has to embrace simplicity. She has to relentlessly cut away the noise. This means ditching the visual clutter and throwing out unverified data. But maybe most importantly, it requires silencing the builder's ego. Actually, scratch that. It's not just a suggestion, it's mandatory. We all want to show off our technical skills and cram every possible chart onto one page. But you've got to set that ego aside and design strictly for the decision. Less really does become more when you're trying to explain complex things clearly. We really have to guide human attention step by step up what's called the knowledge staircase. You can't just chuck numbers at an audience and hope for the best. You start with a simple observation that naturally sparks a question. Then you dig down to first principles to explain the root cause. You weave that into a compelling story, and finally, boom, you arrive at practical meaning. A visual canvas only really works when it respects this logical human progression.
And that brings us to Act 3, the age of AI.
This is our final, and honestly perhaps our most fascinating frontier. Here, a new tone emerges in the story, the future voice. We step into the AI Dashboard Forge to talk about the future of machine assistance. The mentor lays out the path of machine learning for Aria. It goes from data to the model, into pattern learning, and finally spits out the output. It looks so clean and automated, right? But Aria asks the million-dollar question, where exactly does the human fit into this automated loop? The answer is Phase 5, human evaluation. The machine generates the draft with blazing speed, but the human mind absolutely must evaluate the practical meaning.
Here, the future voice steps in with a pretty serious warning. We must never, ever confuse fluent output with reliable truth. You know, AI gives us fluent output incredibly fast. Drafts, summaries, predictions, and it sounds so exceedingly confident. But reliable truth, that's what humans verify slowly. We are the ones who provide the context, the ethics, and that vital understanding of real-world impact. Basically, AI gives you speed, but humans provide the context.
The book offers this beautifully poetic guiding principle. It says, a question is a lantern. Data is the path. Intelligence becomes useful only when judgment carries the light. I mean, it paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it? AI is just an incredibly fast assistant walking down the path with you. But you, the human being, you must always carry the lantern of questioning. You alone direct where that light shines.
Finally, the resolution. Human judgment remains awake.
As we reach the climax of this explainer, we arrive at the ultimate resolution of these dashboard diaries. After all the careful data cleaning, all the gorgeous visual storytelling, and all the magical AI automation, the mentor imparts one final vital lesson to Aria. AI can assist intelligence. It cannot relieve us of wisdom. It is so tempting to just hand over our responsibility to a clever system. But remember, systems only provide drafts. They organize, they predict, they suggest. But human judgment, your judgment, must carry the consequence of the final choice.
Which leaves us with this incredibly provocative final thought from the future voice. I want you to take a second and really chew on this. When the machine speaks, who owns the consequence? It is such a powerful reminder of our fundamental responsibility as decision makers in this wild age of data and artificial intelligence. The tools are absolutely going to change, but the responsibility? That's all yours. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey from chaos to trusted decisions. Keep your lantern raised, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.